I am presenting to you today about a funny little bird called the kakapo, focusing on lots of the info really, but focusing really on its infertility, disease, and conservation efforts. So you can see the image there as one of the early drawings, one of the early like scientific drawings with its Latin name there. So yeah, we'll look at an intro to the kakapo, its background, some extra fun facts that I think you guys will love, its endangered status, infertility, predators, disease, conservation efforts, and then I got a couple of little sound bites, pictures, and videos for you to have a look at as well, so that you stay gripped. So, intro to me, based in the Southwest in the UK. I joined back in November, generally working with articles and SEO and all that jazz. Just a couple of fun facts about me, if you consider them fun. Yoga teacher, silversmith, aspiring children's literature editor. And then also fun fact, maybe, particularly if you're based in Australia, for those who don't know, back in 2018, I lived and worked in Sydney for 6 months, working at a very infamous Irish pub that I won't know say the name of just in case you do know it because it doesn't have a very good reputation. So, meet the Kakapo. Here's this funny little fella. It's known as an owl parrot or owl-faced parrot. He is a large nocturnal ground-dwelling parrot, part of that family, discovered by English ornithologists back in 1845. He's endemic to New Zealand, found in New Zealand and islands around there. They are herbivores, so they eat lots of different fruits and seeds from various trees. They will browse through foliage and sort of using their feet and their claws draw the leaves and pieces of fruit through their beak so that they pull off all the good stuff, all the juicy stuff, and then they chew that up and compress it against the roof of their beak and mouth, which is just like a finely ridged upper jaw. And then they suck out all the nutrients and all the good stuff. And then they leave these little sort of pellets hanging off of plants you can see in the image there. So very easy to track if you're wanting to track a kakapo. You could just follow their little trail of pellets. About the kakapo, they're so funny looking, bless them. They are pretty big, 64 centimeters long. The males can get up to 4 kg, and then the females are a little bit smaller, but still pretty big, particularly for a parrot and a ground-dwelling parrot. The average lifespan is 60 years, but they can live much longer, which we'll get onto. Their class, the domain, they are nocturnal, but I did see a quote that said they will sometimes get up before sunrise. They don't really fit into the rules that people have applied to them, and they're flightless, so they can glide a little bit, which we'll get into. So they kind of their evolution is that where they evolved on in New Zealand, they evolved without the presence of predators and generally other mammals that would eat them. So they gained weight and lost their ability to fly over time. Now their wings are used more for balance and graceful falls. Lighter females can manage short glides of about 3 to 4 meters, sort of between branches or trees or bushes. They do still climb trees. They can climb up to like 20-meter high trees in New Zealand with their really strong claws. They are excellent hikers with really large, strong legs as well. They can really get up to quite the speed. Again, we'll get into a little bit more later, but when they are disturbed by a predator, now that they do have them, since some mammals that are predators to them were introduced, such as like cats and stoats that hunt both in the day and night. So now they do have predators, unfortunately. And the kakapo also has a very distinctive smell. I can't tell you what that smell is because I don't know, but I can only imagine it's not very pleasant. And it's distinctive enough that it's very easy for predators to find them. So yeah, when they are disturbed by a predator, they will freeze and hope that their color will camouflage them to their sort of mossy, undergrowthy background. That's basically why they developed their nocturnal habits to avoid moving around in the daytime so that they can avoid flying daytime predators that would have been things like birds of prey and hawks and things like that. And then some extra fun facts for you. All the accents and stuff on the name Kakapo is because it's Maori, the New Zealand language dialect. And that in English translates to stupid, which is that's mean. That's just mean. Come on. I was purely curious as to what it could mean in another language. And they are the only lek breeding parrot species in the world, which means species that go out and gather little things like little twigs and stones and berries for their partner to be very appealing. They have little whiskers, which you can see quite well in this picture, so they can feel their way in the dark, just like dogs and cats. They have been known to reach 90 years old, so they are the most likely the longest lived bird species in the world. And then starting to get into some of the issues of their breeding, their infertility, is that they will only breed in years when fruits must, which is when they fruit very heavily. So obviously with heaps of other issues, changes in climate patterns, heat waves, everything like this that affects the fruiting of plants. So not only are they not prime fruiting numbers, but they're actively worsening. So creatures like this, which for some reason, I suppose so they know they have enough food to feed their babies and stuff, they will only breed when there's like an excess of perfect conditions in fruit, which isn't very good for conservation efforts and their likelihood in the future. In 2022, the kakapo was banned from the Bird of the Year competition, which is an annual competition held in New Zealand, because they were winning too much. They won twice, both in 2008 and 2020, because everyone loves them so much. And the official board of the Bird of the Year competition in New Zealand decided that it was unfair and they weren't giving other birds enough of a chance. The underbirds, if you will. So yeah, they're banned from the competition for a while until some other birds win. So they are critically endangered, hence the big red circle. The most recent count is that there are only 244 kakapos alive today, which is not very many. And getting more into their threats, they're primarily threatened by predators, disease, genetic inbreeding, and infertility. So why is infertility a problem for the kakapo? So you can see a couple of ways that sort of the dynamic between the male and female work there. So we're not so scientists, I haven't got a clue, but scientists aren't quite sure what qualities make a male kakapo more attractive. Some are clear favorites within groups and will attract many females, while others are not selected at all for kakapos. Females will often travel long distances to mate with their preferred male or multiple males, which means often walking right by a perfectly good kakapo, but they just don't fancy him, so they go find another one. Nests are made in good shelters, hollow trees, or caves made by rocks and roots. And the female kakapo will lay between 1 to 4 eggs. They're slightly smaller than chicken eggs, and they hatch after about 30 days. The female kakapo then solo parents, and so she must leave her nest unattended at night to find food, which can obviously lead to the intrusion of predators taking their eggs and whatnot. Chicks fledge after about 10 weeks, but the mother may keep feeding her chicks for up to 6 months. So if they make it past the kind of they get to a stage where they're big enough and they fledge, they do have a pretty good starting point in life because the mother will continue to feed them. And yes, the courtship is great. There's some great sound effects that I will show you in a little bit as to how the female kakapo picks her man. So predators, cats, roach, and stoats have been introduced to the islands that previously didn't have any of these mammals that were going to act as a predator to the kakapo. They were also, as most things were, hunted by humans for food and also scientific curiosity when we thought that was a cool thing to do. As I mentioned, they have a very musty odor that makes them super vulnerable to any mammals that hunt by smell, which is, all of them basically. So it's not a good start to be extra stinky in the forest because then everyone knows where you are. Their defense is in a little bit more detail. So as you can see from the pictures that we've seen of them, their camouflage looks like moss on a forest floor, so they do really blend in quite well. They'll freeze so that these hawks and things that may see them it's a lot harder for them to see them. And then also there's a few recovery programs that are just straight up relocating them to different areas that are islands that do not have predators. So that is a very good initiative that we'll get into as well. So for disease, there are a couple of main diseases that are affecting the kakapo. There's aspergillosis, which is a fungal infection. There was a really bad outbreak in 2019, which saw quite a big drop in the numbers of the kakapo. humans can catch it as well. It's caused by spores in the environment that will typically only really impact a human or a kakapo if their immunity is already very low. But if it is, then it's most likely to be fatal, unfortunately. Cloacitis is a disease that causes painful scabbing. Sounds very unpleasant. So it's unfortunately reached some of the sanctuary islands. So although they're not disturbed by predators, they do still have the impact of disease. It affects the area where they lay eggs. So obviously very painful. It can cure itself, but often also requires vet intervention. So it is an actual intervention is required, which is obviously makes the whole process a lot more difficult. There are a few recovery programs and projects being undertaken to understand how genetics contribute to the susceptibility of these different diseases and obviously aiming to eradicate them. So conservation attempts, their original habitat before humans settled in like those areas, those forest areas of mainland New Zealand, before humans came in and ruined everything basically, were very similar to these new areas that they have introduced them to. So a couple of the islands that recovery attempts are being made on is Codfish Island, Anchor Island, Sanctuary Mountain, Muangatautari. It's just there's some areas that are fenced off, so really like a nature preserve, like an organized initiative, and some others are just a nicer, smaller island that is still very natural and wild, but can just be better regulated by people in this initiative. So, fun bit, sound recordings. So the kakapo male will boom to attract the female. Okay, yeah. So the male booming is just a little bit too, it's like it's super, super deep. It's just a very low frequency sound that obviously you can't hear, so you can have to imagine it. And then the other sound you heard is the male chings, and just another sound used to attract females. So I'll hit that one again. Kind of just sounds like any bird sound ever. And then the kakapo male territorial calls is this one. We'll see if we can hear it. Again, super low. That one wasn't low. I would be put off if I was another male kakapo. That's terrifying. That's like something from a horror film. And then the kakapo female song. Let's see what she's sounding like. Who knew so many noises could come from one little bird? That's those funny little birds. Nice. This is just a little kakapo gallery. You can see they're very funny folks. You can see how big they are on that lady's arm and how very much round and football shaped they are with their little whiskers, how efficient they are at camouflage. So this is a funny little fella.
It's a parrot, and weighing up to 4 kilos, it's the world's heaviest. And yes, you've guessed it, it can't fly. Meet the kakapo. Too heavy and short-winged to get airborne, it climbs trees instead.
So you can see they generally will move super slow like that through the forest so that they don't really catch the eye of a predator, but they can move it when they want to, as you will see.
Its favorite food is up above, the tiny seeds of the rimu tree.
But generally, that is the kakapo. There's like conservation efforts that you can go and donate or share links and stuff like this. There's some links in the slides here that you can have a further look at kakapo recovery. Share it with all your friends so everyone gives some money to the kakapo. And yeah, thanks for watching.